Hello and welcome to the Federal. A five-judge constitution bench of the Supreme Court on Monday affirmed the government's demonetization move in 2016, stating that there was no flaw in the decision-making process and that it is not relevant whether the objective behind the decision was achieved or not. The Supreme Court also said adequate consultation took place between the center and the Reserve Bank of India before the note ban decision. To talk more on this, I have my colleague Giri Prakash with me. Let's ask him the first question. Giri, what exactly does the judgment say?
The judgment is quite clear. It has the Supreme Court has upheld the decision to demonetize the 500 rupee note and the 1000 rupee note in November 2016, and the four judges in favor of the demonetization, and one, that is Justice Nagaratnama, not being in favor. The case was decided by the five-judge Constitution bench led by Justice S.A. Nazir, but the Supreme Court dismissed all of these petitions, which also ruled that the executive's economic policy cannot be changed. Now, getting into a bit of granular details about the judgment, the judgment said that. It agreed with the government's decision that the center and the RBI had spoken before demonetization, which obviously meant there was a lot of discussion that happened, and before actually arriving at this decision. And it is not, one thing was, most Indian citizens felt that this decision was taken overnight and implemented overnight. I mean, the Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, made a televised address to the nation and said that within a few hours, these two currency notes will be demonetized. And people thought it was done. It was out of the blue, or it was done suddenly. But apparently, and as per the Supreme Court, a lot of discussion did happen between the RBI staff bosses and the government before arriving at this decision. And they also talked about that apparently this discussion took place over a period of 6 months, and they also talked about the fact that that there's nothing unconstitutional about it, and they said that there was a good reason for such a measure to be taken, and the doctrine of proportionality did not apply to demonetization. And let's talk a bit about what is the doctrine of proportionality. Now, according to the doctrine, there must be a logical connection between the desired outcome and the steps taken to get there. What it means is, let me give you an example for that. Let's say if some employees fail to report to work. So usually what happens, you go ahead and the punishment will be proportionate to the charges made against the employee. So what happens? You either send him a memo or call him up and tell him that don't do this again. Don't take this French leave quite often. And at best, instead of considering it as a casual leave, you deduct 1 day's salary. But if you go ahead and dismiss him for something like this, then it is quite disproportionate to the kind of action that has happened. So that's why the Supreme Court refers to the doctrine of proportionate. Now, proportionality. Now, this is quite a significant judgment, and we need to see its implications.
Giri, Justice B.V. Nagaratna differed from the majority view and gave a dissenting judgment. So, what did she have to say about the demonetization?
It was quite a strong dissenting judgment, actually, and she said that the note ban initiated by the center vitiated and was unlawful, but also said that the status quo cannot be restored now, and the move could have been executed through an act of parliament. and the demonetization order was an exercise of power contrary to law and unlawful, and that the entire exercise was carried out within 24 hours. The problems associated with demonetization makes one wonder whether the central bank had visualized the impact. That's what she said. And she made a few other significant points here. Uh, she talks about the fact that the documents and records submitted by the center and the RBI, which included phrases like as desired by the central government, shows that there was no independent application of mind by the RBI. See, RBI is a central bank. Okay. So when it comes to these kind of decisions, the RBI's ruling should prevail over everything else. But in this case, uh, according to her, this did not happen. So she was quite forthright as far as this decision was concerned.
Could you please tell us more about the implications of this judgment?
Now, so there are a few points which talks about the judgment, and she basically there are people who actually talk about the fact that I mean, let us look at the opposition viewpoint. What's the opposition viewpoint on this? And they say that while whatever the Supreme Court has said on this judgment, on this demonetization, while they accept it, while they are obliged to accept it, they did point out a few things. They talked about the fact that the majority has not upheld the wisdom of the decision. This is a key word. They are not upheld the wisdom of the decision, nor has the majority concluded that the stated objectives were achieved. So, what is the stated objective as per that 8 p.m. Televised address to the nation was? The address made it clear that the whole idea behind this demonetization was to clean out the system as far as black money is concerned. Okay, but unfortunately, it didn't happen, right? And then, of course, there were several other versions of it. So the opposition says the majority has steered clear of the questions whether the objectives were achieved at all or not. So they obviously lauded Justice Nagratna's dissenting voice. They said that they are happy with the minority judgment that it has pointed out illegalities and irregularities in the demonetization. And one of the former finance ministers actually went to the extent of saying that it may be only a slap on the wrist of the government, but it's a welcome slap on the wrist of the government.
Giri, we all remember the evening, the night actually demonetization was implemented. So, do you think there will be another such big decision implemented overnight?
Without getting into the merits or demerits of this decision, one can safely assume that a decision like this will now be given a lot of thought and before being announced or implemented. And I really doubt that the government will actually go ahead with similar decisions, because we have what, another 1.5 years before the next general elections takes place, and this year there are several state elections that are happening. So the government is going to be very cautious about it. We don't know what's going to happen after 2024, but I'm more or less certain that such decisions will either not be taken at all or will get deferred.
Thank you so much for your input, Giri Prakash. Viewers, for more such videos, log on to thefederal.com and also visit the Federal's YouTube page. Thank you.
Subscribe to the Federal's YouTube page for more interesting updates.